Oh, okay.
Dispatcher called you. We had said.
Rock. Good evening and welcome to the September 24th special meeting of the Public Works Committee. I now call this meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I ask that anyone else in the audience who is recording this meeting please identify themselves for the record now by standing and say your name of residence. Seeing no one. In attendance today, I have Councilors Schultz, Councilors Fleming, and Councilor Boschman, myself, Councilor Cruz, Chair. I ask at this time that all electronic devices be placed into silent mode. I invite anyone in the audience who wishes to speak, please approach the podium, identify yourself by name and address, and identify the agenda item on which you would like to speak. You may speak on it for no more than 2 minutes. Seeing no one, we will get right into our agenda here today. The first item I'd like to address is the vote to approve the minutes from the previous meeting of June 25th, 2024. Do I have
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Seeing no objections, they are approved. Before we get into the DPW updates, we have Commissioner Erickson here as well as Superintendent Hillman. We have some very special guests in the audience tonight who would like to make a presentation, invited by Commissioner Erickson, Jacob, William, and Darla Graves. If you would please like to come approach the podium or sit and explain what you have for us today.
Do you mind if I videotape?
Yeah, go ahead.
You want me to speak or you want to? Well, don't worry about it. I got this, okay? My name is William Graves. This is my son. Come on up. Oh, wow.
You can grab that speakerphone. Derek, tell him to grab that mic right there.
Yeah, if you'd like to come up to this mic here with Commissioner Erickson, you can use that one.
Oh, okay. Oh, come on up a little more. Come on up. Hold up. Stop. Can it go any further?
Yeah.
Or, oh, yeah, maybe?
It should be fine from there, I think.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen.
You want to present truck
to work
to
to
Department
Department
of
of
Public Works
Public Work,
for keeping the streets
keep it
clean and safe
clean and safe
for me and my friends.
for me and my friends.
So you go to the ARC program?
Yeah,
Okay. So you want me to, I'll hand it to him, okay?
yeah.
Just to let you guys know, Jacob and I, we build models. And this is one that we wanted to do. And we did it. And I'm like, well, that'd be good for...
In a painted,
Really?
we painted first,
Yes, you painted it first.
then I put together.
Yes. So, you want to say thank you?
Thank you.
You want to shake his hand?
Yeah.
We'll put it out there. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
What we'll do is we'll take this back to the DPW and we'll put it on display down in the dispatch office so anyone who comes to the front door
Okay.
can see it, see your hard work.
Hard work it was.
That's awesome. You got the color right? That's awesome.
Yes.
You guys very
I
much.
put the black light on there.
Talking about, he chooses the colors. That's what he's basically talking about. He chose this color because it was the color of the box. Everything that you see there we did offer the box, and we just happy to share with everyone of what him and I do for my sanity and my
Yeah.
going through life.
Well, thank you very much, Jacob William, on behalf of the Public Works Committee and the entire City Council. Thank you very much for the
Thank you.
generous
Thank
gift.
you.
Thank you.
You're
Brought tears to my eyes.
Our guy-
Before we get going here, would you like to do a photo with everyone before we get going?
If you guys got time or whatever.
This is government. We have plenty of time.
Oh. Don't anybody like
All
going
right.
home anymore? I know I do.
Let me get back.
Well, I'm a truck driver, so, you know, I already know all of that. Oh, that?
It looks like
That's that is
a
a,
dump truck?
It's like a Ford dump truck based on the hood here.
And
Very good.
Yep.
By that on and
come on, let's get over here with the, you want us to go forward or, wait a minute.
Just watch out with the wires.
You might have more room this way.
We just go
Go
forward.
right over those wires.
Awesome. Go ahead.
Just want to say thank you all for having your patience with us. This is our first presentation that we ever done.
Madam Mayor, would you like to get in the photo as well?
Sure. Could you send me the picture?
Of course. If you'd like to be, I'll take the photo. I'm much
I'd
better
like to
on.
get in this
Go
photo,
ahead. I'm
too.
much better on this side. Yeah.
Let me get over here. I want to get in this photo.
Oh, come on, everybody, get in the photo. Please, come on.
No, this is for them.
Okay.
Like, no offense. Mom, you did it. Please. 100%. We actually glued the down.
All right. For me first. Here we go.
I hope so.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
He's done this before.
Well, and he's 7 feet tall.
You gonna get in there?
This one?
That's okay.
The low one?
I'll get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, this is a state home, so just keep doing what you need. I'll take all the pictures I need to on this one.
I'll get behind Berm.
Come right over here, Counselor.
look up, Uncle.
Yeah, Jay, look up. There you go. Perfect.
Click, noise. Those the pictures that thank you.
Could I ask you to text that to me?
State home, so it doesn't let me do a whole lot, but all right, what's the number? 978.
400.
If you ever want to stop by the DPW,
that's probably my phone.
on display for you.
Yeah, those kids, those are my grandkids.
Feel free to bring them by.
It's not your fault.
All right, thank you.
My phone, those are my grandkids.
How do you know that's your phone? They could have been my phone.
Do you know those people?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I was like,
Took the minutes and we approved them. I didn't read them.
Yes.
How can you start reading
We
it?
need to take a speed reading class.
And just as a point of clarification, I misspoke earlier. This was a special meeting of the Public Works Committee. It's not. It's a regularly scheduled monthly meeting. We'll move on to the next portion of our agenda. Actually, excuse me, it's the DPW updates, next portion of our agenda. Last time we met was the end of June. Summertime was very, very busy for the DPW, busier than normal, so I imagine we have quite a few updates tonight. Commissioner Erickson.
yes, we do. Thank you. So I'm going to start with the handout that I just gave to you all. So first on the list is water. I've tried to encompass all the different highlights that we've completed over the past couple months, and then some of the upcoming projects that we do have. So first on the list for the Water Division, we've got the SCADA upgrade project. That's nearing completion. That project's actually been in the works since prior to 2020, so we're happy to have that completed. That essentially replaces the brains of the water treatment plant, both the one on Ringe Road and the one at the regional plant over in Westminster, and then a few different pumping stations and water supply reservoirs and tanks throughout the distribution system and water supply system. The Boulder Drive water main replacement project is underway. The pipe work is done. The contractor's currently working on punch list items, and that'll be followed by paving and line striping at some point later this fall. There'll be some areas of Boulder Drive that are not paved because we've got future combined sewer separation work, and we don't want to pave those areas and have to dig them up again in the near future. We just bid out the Main Street water main replacement project, and this will replace the water mains from the Upper Common all the way through Morin Square. So that's a very large project slated to occur starting this fall throughout the construction season next year, and we anticipate it spilling over into the following construction season as well. The Water Department's also undertaking a project to rehabilitate the gatehouse at the Meeting House Reservoir. That's the terminal water supply for the regional treatment plant in Westminster. So it's a much needed project that's been in the works for many years, and that'll bring that gatehouse up to current standards. We also have a project going on to replace the roof at the regional water treatment plant in Westminster. That project recently went out to bid, should be complete within the next year or so. And then most importantly, we recently discovered a leak on one of two 24-inch water mains that pass beneath Route 2. These two water mains essentially feed the city with water from the regional treatment plant, so it's critical that we repair that leak. We're working with Mass DOT on their requirements to perform leak detection within the actual Route 2 state highway layout. So that's a little bit complicated because everything that we do needs to be run through them and get their stamp of approval. So we're working with them on that. Hopefully we don't find any additional leaks on the mains beneath Route 2, but long term we need to prepare to replace those two lines, which will involve some sort of trenchless pipe installation beneath the highway. Of course, that comes with a huge cost because essentially you need to horizontally directional drill beneath the highways, install mains, and all that. So that's a very big project and something that we need to plan for now. It could be years before we have the funding to actually get that project done. But definitely a critical project to take on, because if that fails, it could potentially impact Route 2. And water causes a lot of damage when we have water main break, so obviously we want to make sure those two mains don't leak. So that's all I had for water. Any questions before I move on?
Pause here for questions. Yeah, Commissioner Fleming.
I'm just
Councilor
curious,
Fleming.
where on Route 2, the furthest west area of Route 2, furthest east?
So it's right near the Narrows Road interchange.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And it passes beneath the two travel lanes of Route 2 and then underneath the off-ramp at that interchange onto Narrows Road. So
Okay.
off-ramp from Route 2 westbound.
Got it, thank you.
Councilor Boschman.
Yeah, when we, water mains, Main Street, I talked to the mayor and I talked to John, I left a message with John's line. When you're doing the water mains, can you put a line in on your common areas where you get the flowers and trees and all that stuff? I noticed that when I drive in Boston, when I went to Medford, when I used to work out that way, they had underground water where their plants were always beautiful and it was always well taken care of. They came up and they watered by themselves at 5 o'clock in the morning and they shut off at 5:30. So, and then all you have to do is blow the lines up.
So that's a possibility. We need to speak with our design consultant. So right now that project's already gone out to bid and that is not included in the scope of work that the contractor bid on, so it would be a change order item. So we need to determine, one, is it feasible? Like you said, we need to have a backflow preventer installed and make sure that those lines are blown out every year in the fall to make sure that they don't freeze and crack and whatnot. Then there's the issue of damage from vehicles. We want to make sure that vehicles aren't creating potential leaks in the irrigation system there if they get hit by a motor vehicle accident or something. So It's a possibility, but we need to work with our consultant to figure out the logistics of doing that
All right,
and what it might cost.
all right, that's it for now.
Councillor Schultz?
Yeah, on those leaks, is there anything that's temporarily done to address those leaks? Because it could be years before you actually replace the pipes. How much water are we losing?
So the leak that we discovered is actually outside of the state highway layout, and the guys are actually in process of repairing that now. So we have that repair scheduled for tomorrow. We've had to do a ton of prep work in order to prepare for that construction work tomorrow. So they've had to clear trees, make sure they gain access to the area where the leak is because it's in a cross-country easement. And they've had to source parts to make sure that when they actually dig and expose those water mains that they have the parts to make the repair. Unfortunately, what that's going to result in is having to shut down those two mains that go underneath Route 2, drain it down, and then perform the repair, and then repressurize the system and flush it out. It's going to stir up some sediment and debris. So we expect some discolored water in that area downstream of there, and that feeds a very large portion of the city. So there's a possibility for discolored water tomorrow after that repair is complete.
So it'll just take one day to complete the repair?
Should take just one day to complete the repair. But what we need to do is leak detection on the section that actually goes underneath the highway. And we're hoping we don't find any more leaks, but there is a possibility that a leak there does exist. Like I said, it travels cross-country next to a stream and next to some wetland areas, so there's a very real possibility that it's been leaking for a while and just hasn't popped up because of all the wetlands and streams over there. It would make it relatively difficult to see that visually on the surface. So what we plan to do is work with Mass DOT to excavate pits on either side of the highway and either side of the off-ramp and install listening devices on the main that'll let us hear a leak. But in order to do that, we need to do it at nighttime when there's no traffic, because the traffic, the vibrations and all that interfere with the leak detection. So right now, it's not clear whether there is a leak beyond what's going to be repaired tomorrow. We're hoping not. If there is, then that's a more serious problem that we need to address sooner rather than later. If there is not a leak, essentially we need to begin preparing for the process of installing new mains underneath Route 2, which involves, like I said, some sort of trenchless installation. And anytime you talk about trenchless installation of large diameter water mains, it gets expensive quickly. So that's a project that isn't in the current rate structure. So we're working with our consultant to understand exactly what that cost is, and then we'll have to try to pursue funding sources for that repair, or new installation rather. So that might involve pursuing some sort of a state earmark or some sort of a grant to fund that work. But that's very still much up in the air. It depends on what we find when we do the leak detection work.
I hope you don't find any more.
Me too. Mass DOT hopes that too, because they don't want to deal with shutting down Route 2 for a water main leak.
No. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Councillor. Just one question from me. So you mentioned this is in partnership with Mass DOT, and I don't want to get into Mass DOT and their budget. I will be here all night. Why aren't they providing the funding for this? This is their highway. I understand it's in our city. Why aren't they fronting the bill for this?
So this is an issue that we have with how this all transpired over the years. So our water mains were installed first. They're very old. They were installed early 1900s, before Route 2 was even an idea. DOT came in, took the land for the highway, built the interchange. At that time, they really should have laid new water mains underneath the interchange that they constructed. I don't know why they didn't do that at the time. Maybe the city asked and they said no. Maybe the city just overlooked it and let Mass DOT build what they needed to build. I'm not really sure because it was so long ago, and we don't have any records to really give us an answer. So we asked Mass DOT that question, is there any funding sources available for something like this? And their answer was basically like, no, you guys are on your own. So that's where I think we could pursue maybe a state earmark, considering that it's a major transportation corridor. A failure of those water mains would likely shut down Route 2 in that area. So I'm hoping that gives us leverage to be granted an earmark. But I don't really have an answer to your question as to why Mass DOT isn't stepping in and providing funding for this. That's just their approach with these types of things, I guess.
And there's no precedent to pursue this legally with DOT?
That's what we're considering looking into that right now. At some point, the city must have been given an easement for those water mains. So we need to review what that easement language looks like and whether we have any recourse. But that's something we need to talk to the city solicitor about for sure.
Yeah. Being where it is on Route 2, and you got to think the amount of travel, vehicles over those mains, all of these things, I think, would come into play, at least for me, on who's responsible for repairing this damage. So as wonderful as an earmark from the legislature would be, or grants, for me, I think with a department that has enough executive offices of this and that, they should probably be fitting this bill for me. But that's not my decision, not my choice. So we move on to wastewater, if there are no further
No,
questions.
I got one question.
Councilor Bush.
On the, you said there's going to be discoloration in the water when you shut it down. My question, are you going to notify the different businesses that are going to be affected, like the growing place at Antwell Shoe, because it affects their water quality for their plants?
I believe our approach is going to be to try to flush out whatever we can and avoid discolored water altogether. But it feeds the entire city, so we could notify the entire city, which, water department will do via Facebook and whatnot, but we will not be reaching out to every single business in the city. That's just too much to ask out of the one person we have in the front office at the water department.
All right.
Thank you, Councilor. We'll move on to wastewater. Commissioner.
All right. As you are likely aware, we've got combined sewer separation work happening throughout the city. Right now, the CSO 10 project is underway, and J.A. Polito & Sons is working up in the Bond Street area. So they're making one final push to finish the pipe work required to complete that project, and then next spring they'll be doing the final restoration work. They've done some milling and paving in some of the areas that have been completed already, such as Goddard, Chestnut, Lower Bond, and a few other smaller streets, School Street, Park Street, et cetera. So we're looking forward to completing that project. We just bid out the next phase of the combined sewer separation work, and that's the CSO 32, 45, and 83 separation rehabilitation project. The apparent low bidder on that bid was GVC Construction, and all their references checked out, and we awarded the project to them, and we're working through the final contracting phase right now. That project will likely be kicking off this fall, with the majority of the work happening next construction season. And that project will be focused on the area essentially from Prospect Street over to roughly Academy Street. There's not really a clear boundary on that eastern side because of the way the sewer shed is set up, but it's kind of that area that encompasses Prospect, Mechanic, and parts of Elm and Academy Streets, and that neighborhood up in there. The wastewater division also has a project underway right now at the East Wastewater Treatment Plant, and that's a lab and control room upgrade project. Recently, some asbestos was discovered, and it's slowing down the progress, but that project will be completed likely next spring. And then we've undertaken a project to study the possibility of automating the East Wastewater Treatment Facility so that we don't have to have 24/7, 365 staffing. And that would allow us to staff the plant Monday through Friday, probably Saturday and Sunday too, but just during regular business hours versus 24/7, 365 overnights and all that. And that'll help address some of the staffing issues that we've had recently down at the East plant.
Questions from councilors? Councilor Boschman.
Are you going to pave Arlington Street? I know you dug that street up.
Yes, that will be paved. I believe that's slated for next spring. I think
Next spring?
They just finished all the drainage work there this past couple of months. So the goal there is to let the pipe work settle out for a winter season and then come pave it in the spring once it's had some time to settle.
All right. Now, I got one final question. They paved these streets like View Street, School Street, and next year it settles and it ends up like Clarendon Street. Are they going to come back and repave that at their cost?
They're on the hook for any major settlement that does happen. The streets that they did pave had 3 months or so to settle out, and that's basically what we needed. So there shouldn't be any settling that happens. If it does settle within that year warranty period, then they will have to come back and fix it.
They only got 1 year warranty on that stuff?
1 year from date of substantial completion, I believe, is the way the contract is worded. But that's typical in the construction industry. There's generally a year warranty after work is completed.
I didn't know that. All right. I yield the floor.
Further questions from councilors?
Was it Clarendon Street, or were you thinking of Beach Street?
No, Clarendon Street, they dug up Clarendon Street back in the wintertime to save money, and they filled it in, and they only, they did certain sections of it, what they dug up, they paved, but it's all like a roller coaster.
You're talking about Clarendon Street?
Yeah, yeah.
So Clarendon Street was a little bit different. That was a prior combined sewer separation project. Polito worked on that project too.
Right.
But they had an agreement with the prior commissioner to install temporary pavement and not do final trench patch or full curb-to-curb restoration. So that one was it wasn't executed the way I would have liked to have seen it executed, essentially. I think the paving work should have been included in the combined sewer separation work so that everything's done at once and there's not any issues like we're dealing with now, where we have the pipe work that was completed and then we're paving it essentially under a separate contract using separate funds. So we changed our approach to try to avoid that in the future.
All right.
All right. Moving on to cemetery.
Okay. So DPW recently completed drainage upgrades in Section Q to alleviate some groundwater issues that we were having up by that Electric Ave area of the cemetery. Engineering is working on designing drainage upgrades for the Memorial Gardens and columbarium areas. We're also working with our new paving contractor, Lazaro Paving Corp., on paving the pathways that were constructed last year in the Memorial Gardens area. That will likely happen this fall or next spring at the latest. And then we have the Forest Hill Mausoleum project ongoing. Right now, there's been a Friends group that has been set up. Friends of Forest Hill, I believe, is the official title. And they're looking to fundraise the amount required to restore the mausoleum, which is over $1 million. So they've got quite the task ahead of them to raise that funding. Right now, there is no funding available to move forward with that project until that fundraising effort is completed. So for the listening public, if you're interested in joining that Friends group, you can reach out to any one of the cemetery trustees. Judy Perla is the chair right now, so she would be the best point of contact. If not, you can reach out to me, and I can set you up. What's that?
Councilor Cragen, too, wasn't she part of
Yes,
that? Yes.
Councilor Cragen is also heavily involved with setting up that Friends group. Thank you for reminding me that. She's another great person to talk to about that.
Questions from committee members regarding the cemetery update? I just have just one. Initially, when we had first met regarding the mausoleum, we talked a little bit about the Community Preservation Act. Has there been any groundwork on potentially doing this?
I haven't seen any movement on that yet. We'll have to talk about that at our next meeting, our next cemetery trustees meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. On to Parks and Rec.
All right. So Parks and Rec Division has been busy getting things winterized. The winterization of the pool, I believe, was completed last week. And over the next month or so, they'll be winterizing irrigation systems and performing fall cleanups throughout the parks. We've also recently undertaken a removal of 2 playgrounds. We just completed a removal of Park Hill Playground, and we will be completing the removal of Mama Fitz Playground on October 5th in advance of getting new playgrounds installed, and that's funded through the American Rescue Plan Act funds that the city received. So some good activity there to get those 2 playgrounds rehabilitated. We have a new tree contractor on board. So Mark Flagg is no longer the city's tree contractor. He did not bid on the latest bid that we put out. Our newest tree contractor is Arbor Works out of Acton, Massachusetts, I believe. And they started just recently with their first task, which was doing some stump grinding. So they'll be working on the backlog of stump grinding and tree removals that we've generated over the past several months since Mark Flagg's contract expired. And then we will be working with our paving contractor, Lazaro Paving Corp., on paving the Moore Soccer Field parking lot and driveway. And money for that was appropriated from free cash. I I believe, last year or the year prior. So we're looking forward to finally getting that project done as well. Any questions? before I
Councilor
move
Schultz.
I missed the playground removals. What playgrounds were involved?
Park Hill was removed I believe last Saturday, not this past Saturday, the Saturday prior, and Mama Fitz will be removed on October 5th.
So where is it involved at Park Hill? They're not touching the new...
Not the new playground area, the older playground area that's been there for, God, I think it was 20-something plus years old.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Councilor Boschman?
I noticed that they, after many years of asking, I think they ground up the one on the corner of Madison and Pratt Road Street. Yeah, they did a pretty good job.
The stump there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you that. I do recognize stuff being done. So, I should take that back. Some things I see being done. All right?
All right. Thank you, Councilor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Boschman. I just have one question. I noticed at Caldwell Park recently, there's a huge mounds of the wood chips that we use at the playgrounds, and I think we just allocated some significant funds for purchasing those. Is that standard practice to have the mounds just sort of placed there and then spread out, or was this just they were there just that day, or well,
So they were dumped there so that volunteers could help spread them. Really, that's the best way to kind of stage the material. Otherwise, it would be difficult for volunteers to, find a way to truck that back and forth from our stockpile area to the actual locations where they need to be filled up. So that is another bullet point I probably should have added here. We have recently allocated some money to adding safety fiber to all of the playgrounds in the city, and the Parks Division has undertaken significant effort to make that happen. Volunteers have helped in a lot of places, so without the volunteers, we wouldn't have been able to spread all those wood chips. So
terrific.
big thank you to the volunteer groups that help out.
Safety fiber, right? I probably shouldn't say wood chips.
Technically, safety fiber, wood chips is, I guess, the generic term for it.
Okay, safety fiber.
But all the playgrounds in the city have been severely lacking in safety fiber for several years, so it was good to buy a bunch of that and get it installed where needed.
Is injury something that we track at playgrounds at all?
Not that I'm aware of. Occasionally, we'll get a complaint, and then we'll obviously need to address that complaint. With the safety fiber, I don't know where it goes, but it disappears rather quickly whenever we spread it. I think it makes its way into kids' shoes and pockets and stuff, and then disappears. But
As do most things, right?
Yeah.
Frogs and all sorts of stuff, yeah.
But there's little marks on the playground equipment that shows where you're supposed to fill the safety fiber up to. It's actually a lot deeper than you'd think. You need about 12 inches plus of safety fiber to really comply with the regulations for playgrounds.
And it's definitely not cheap.
No.
Any more further questions from councilors, from committee members? Councilor Boschman?
Do we stockpile that for near future use? How long does the material last? Is it good forever?
I would say it's good for at least a couple of seasons. We do stockpile it. We stockpile it at the lagoon parcel that we have over near the West Wastewater Treatment Plant. In the past, we haven't stockpiled it. We used to just buy it and spread it as we would get it. But we've taken a different approach to try to stay on top of keeping all the playgrounds filled up as best as we can.
All right.
Also, it's cheaper when you buy it in bulk, too. So
Yeah,
it's better to
yeah.
buy it in bulk, stockpile it, and then dump it where you need it, and then have a combination of our guys and volunteers spread it where we can.
Okay.
All right, on to engineering.
All right, so engineering has been busy, as usual, with conservation and planning reviews and inspections, street opening and trench permits and inspections. We've also undertaken a significant amount of streetlight repairs recently, and our streetlight repair contractor has started working on replacement of approximately 10 old concrete light poles that had been removed due to decay and safety issues. So you might have seen some foundations being installed in the Main Street area and over by the Senior Center and a few other places basically north of Main Street. So over the next several weeks, they'll install new light poles on those foundations that they've installed. As always, if you have a streetlight outage, report it through C-Click Fix, and the engineering guys will get on it and assign that to our streetlight repair contractors. We've got 3 bridge projects that have either recently been completed or are ongoing. The Circle Street Bridge project was completed, and that was open to traffic in early July. I think it looks fantastic. I don't know if anyone's had an opportunity to drive on it, but they did a nice job there. Mass DOT's underway with the River Street Bridge rehabilitation project that's over by Crocker Field. They've got that narrowed down to 1 lane headed in the inbound direction. It'll remain open to 1 lane in the inbound direction for the next 2 years or so until the project's complete. So right now they're working on one half of the bridge. When they're done that half, they'll shift the lane over to the other half of the bridge, and they'll start work on the other section. And then Mass DOT has recently completed the design for the Water Street Bridges replacement project. So that's the bridge over Boulder Drive and then the bridge over the Nashua River over by Market Basket. They're going out to bid with that project this fall, and that should start sometime late fall, early winter. We won't know until the contract is awarded to a contractor what the actual schedule will be. Contractor might start this year, they might start next spring. We're not entirely sure, so a little bit of a wait and see on that one. And then we have recently bid out our latest paving contract. We had a bid opening on September 4th, and Lazaro Paving Corp. was the low bidder on that. We recently received approval from Mass DOT to award it to Lazaro, and DPW Engineering, myself, and the mayor met a week and a half ago to come up with a tentative paving list, which I've provided to you on this handout. So we've got Clarendon Street from Daniels to Franklin, Electric Avenue from Eastern Ave to the roundabout, Airport Road from Bemis to Crawford, Marshall Road from Skyview to Fisher, Pearl Street from Klondike to the town line, Klondike from Lunenburg to Pearl, Fairbanks Street from South Street to Monroe, Monroe Street in its entirety, Birch Street from Monroe to Albee, Game On Way from Victoria Lane to Industrial, Victoria Lane from Industrial to Game On, Roper Road from Industrial to the town line, and then 2 sections of Ashby West Road from Ashburnham Hill to Scott, and then from Ringe Road to 80 feet beyond the culvert that's on Ringe Road, or that's on Ashby West Road. And then Nichols Road from Mechanic to Drapanos Drive. And then Mass DOT plans to pave Route 31 and 2A from approximately the West Plant down to the roundabout at Kimball Street, River Street, and Daniel Street. So we're working with Lazaro right now to schedule this work. We want to get as much done this year before the end of the calendar year as possible, but obviously it's contingent upon Lazaro's schedule and availability of their crews. So we're working with them right now to figure out what they have the ability to get done and what needs to get pushed to next spring.
Questions from committee members? Councillor Fleming.
Yes, Pearl Street, Klondike to the town line. So it's only going to start at Klondike and go to the Luna. So these are only just small sections that are being paved, not the entire street.
Correct. We're trying to take care of the worst sections. So in an ideal world, we would have an open checkbook and we'd be able to pave the entire street, but we're trying to take care of the worst sections within the areas that only have part of the street being paved.
So they're going to start on a bumpy and then maybe end on a smooth, or be on a smooth and then end up on a bumpy.
Potentially,
Yeah.
if there's different sections of the road that aren't within the paving limits.
Okay.
I mean, the Pearl Street over by the college down through John Fitch was done several years ago, so that's not in bad condition. And then it gets progressively bumpier from there out to the town line. So Klondike to the town line was the worst section. I think it had a PCI of roughly 22 or something like that.
Thank you.
Councillor Boschman.
River Street, let's go back to the engineering part of it here first.
Sorry.
River Street project. I was under the impression that when we first started months ago, and you were talking about River Street being shut down so they can do Mass DOT, can start working on a bridge, that once Circle Street got taken care of, that the people coming from Clegon and West Fitzroy were going to go down Broad Street, take a left onto Circle Street, and go that way to get downtown. And then the people coming from Main Street or Ashby State Road could go down River Street on that left lane. What changed? I always was in the impression that that's how it was going to go.
So Circle Street's a one-way in the other direction, so that was never on the table. There's not adequate sightlines coming out of Circle Street onto Main if you're to travel in the opposite direction of traffic. You've got Demonis and David there on the left, and there's just not enough sightlines, and it's too close to the intersection with Main and Rollstone. So that's not a safe detour route to change the traffic direction on Circle Street. Originally, Mass DOT had proposed keeping the westbound direction open. So that would be like if you're coming from Main Street headed towards Cleghorn. The issue with that is there's no other way to easily travel the other direction through there, whereas right now you have Main Street to Circle Street to Broad Street to River Street to bypass the bridge, and that's a really short detour route. So right now we have traffic headed inbound, and then you have the route to go Circle Street to go for westbound. So it made a little bit more sense logistically to do that. And then in addition, having the traffic go westbound through the bridge causes opposing directions of traffic to cross at each end of the detour, which is a slightly unsafe configuration, and we were worried about backups that would potentially affect the lights up at Main Street. So by having the traffic go eastbound and then the other detour headed Circle Street to Broad and River, you have the traffic flowing smoothly in a counterclockwise direction, and you don't have those two opposing directions of traffic crossing at either end of the detours. DPW, FPD, Fitchburg Fire, the Mayor's Office, and Community Development all met to make sure that that was the direction that we wanted to go. And then we worked with Mass DOT, and that was the final detour route that was put together for the contractor.
All right. And then let's go back to the paving on her, what she asked. Basically, we're going to do Clarendon Street from Daniel Street all the way up. Are we going to go across Franklin Road to the cemetery while you're there?
As of right now, the plan is no, because we don't have the funds to do so. The paving contract that we put out is good until November 15th, 2025. So that'll include the re-up of Chapter 90 that we get on July 1 or thereabouts next year. So that is something to be considered for next fiscal year's Chapter 90 allocation. The other thing to consider is if any of these projects come in under estimate, there could potentially be additional funds available, and we could look at adding pieces to existing projects. So that would be taking Clarendon Street and doing that dead-end section by the cemetery, could be doing Pearl Street, before you get to Klondike, any one of these streets where we're only paving a little section, we could add a little bit more if things come in under budget. But right now, we've got a plan based on the funds that are on hand, and this list includes or uses up all those funds. So we don't want to plan for more than we can actually handle or pay for.
Yeah, I understand. I always wondered, I have a hard time sometimes. I agree with her, my counsel to the right. When I watched the Pratt Road, you guys went up to the Harry Street, and then you stopped 1 year, and then you left the other part. Now the other part's all broke. Then you paved the other part, and now Pratt Road's falling apart. And I forget exactly when Pratt Road was done, but it needs to be really done again. So we're spending money instead of doing the whole road all at once. You're piecemealing it. You're just taking it, and then all of a sudden, I don't understand. I have a hard time to figure it out why I see different communities doing the exact same opposite of what you guys want to do to accomplish what she ain't brought up. I mean, I just don't get. I understand funds. I understand that wholeheartedly, but it just doesn't make logical sense when I look at it. Now, if you look at, I've used Clarendon Street because I've been talking about Clarendon Street too, all Pratt Road. Clarendon Street really should be going down all the way down to Fairmont Street all the way up, because if you go by the St. Joseph School, the former St. Joseph School, you know it, there's a big hump in the road, a really big hump. So if you're coming down that road and you're new, you go over that thing, you're gonna bottom out because it goes up and down and up. And I think the same thing happens down on Fairmont and Clarendon, goes down and up. So I have a hard time, I just don't understand the logics on,
Well, if,
besides having money.
so we have 185 miles roughly of public roadways.
Yeah,
More than half of those roads, 110 miles, have a PCI of less than 50, which is poor. So more than half of our roads need to be reconstructed. 110 miles worth of paving, millions and millions of dollars worth of paving. So it's really futile to argue about which roads should be paved now versus next year versus the year after. We need to pave the worst sections now with as much money as we do have. And if we have extra funding, we can pave more, but that's not the reality, unfortunately. We just don't have the funding to pave all the roads that we need. We don't have the funding to even keep up with the roads that need to be paved on an annual basis just to tread water. Because every year that passes by, pavement falls further and further into decay. And it gets worse and worse, and potholes get worse, and sections of road that were good 5 years ago are now not looking so good. In order to keep up with what we should pave every year, we need to be paving about 9 or 10 miles every year, and we're only paving 1 or 2. It's just not financially sustainable the way that we rely on Chapter 90 money exclusively for paving. What we really need is a re-up on our Chapter 90 allocations year to year. And that's something that, you know, we've talked about as a city for years and years, and we've advocated for them to increase our Chapter 90 apportionment for years and years, but it just hasn't happened.
I understand that. Councilors, we understand that. The state's not going to give us more money. Let's face the facts. They haven't given us more money. We've been crying for more money. I think it's time for it. Personally, I believe it's time for the council to step up and start doing something about it, instead of just sitting here saying the state.
Council Boschman, do you have any more questions for Commissioner Erickson regarding
Well, I'm just saying that.
for us?
But the roads are very, very bad.
We
And it's
know.
costing the citizens a lot of money. Whether you want to agree with it or not, Councilor, it's costing people
Point of order.
money. There's no point of order there, man. We're talking about the roads.
Councilor Boschman, the chair recognized the point of order by Councilor Fleming, and I agree. Well, let's get back to the topic at hand, please. Thank you, Councilor.
One more comment on that, if you don't mind. The way that our street scan software analyzes the roads, it splits it up into different road segments, and each segment is graded based on the condition of the road. So if you have a road that's 3 miles long, it's split up essentially from intersection to intersection along its length. You have some sections that are really bad because of groundwater issues or a bunch of utility patches, whatever, and you have other sections that are a little bit better. So what we're trying to do is tackle the worst sections of the worst roads, and hopefully the worst sections of all the roads in the city, and try to get our average PCI rating up. So that's the reason why you see us doing portions of a road versus the entirety of a road. If money was no object, of course, we'd take all the roads that are less than 50 and just repave them and reconstruct them all, but that's just not the case. So we have to be very judicious with the money that we do have to spend. So that's why we're focusing on the segments that have the worst PCI versus segments that might have a better PCI and we can get a few more years out of them. Same with like brake pads. I mean, if you've got brake pads, you don't really want to do a brake job until the pads are completely gone. Otherwise, you're throwing usable pads right out the window. Same principle.
Councilor Boschman, do you have any more questions specific to the list of streets we've been given?
No.
Thank you, Councilor. Chair recognizes Councilor Schultz for the first time.
Commissioner Erickson, I commend you for doing the worst parts of our roads that really need to be done, because the constituents I talk to, they really agree with that approach, that we should do the worst sections first because of our limited funding. And everyone I talk to says that is the right approach, that don't just do the whole street because you're there, do the sections that really need it, that are rated the worst. So that's where I'm coming from. So I agree with your approach. Just wanted to be on the record. The other question I had was on Mass DOT. Mm-hmm. Now, they were supposed to do that section, the last West Plant to Kimball. It seemed like they were going to do it in the spring. I guess there's a delay on that paving. So could you give us an update on that?
Yeah, originally they told us FY24. So that would be, sometime prior to July 1 this past year.
Yeah.
We met with them in May, and Unitil had some outstanding work that was going to take them till roughly mid-July to complete. So Unitil held true to that. They finished their work in July. So Lazaro had tentatively agreed to August. August came around. We didn't hear anything from Lazaro. We didn't hear anything from Mass DOT. So we've been going back and forth with them, trying to get an answer out of them as to when they're actually going to come in and do the work. So those discussions are ongoing. We've had to push Mass DOT to push Lazaro a little bit to try and get that work done. We've talked to Ryan Lazaro, who's the owner of Lazaro Paving Corp. He indicated that the work will happen this calendar year, but we haven't seen an official schedule from them, so that's still a big question mark. So we're trying to get them to come in and get that work done, but it is being funded through Mass DOT through their municipal paving program. So it's essentially a grant for paving that we were awarded. So Mass DOT ultimately has the final say. We had an email exchange earlier today with DOT, and DOT instructed Lazaro to try to get this work scheduled ASAP. So we're hopeful that they'll follow through and get it done this year.
That is a section that a lot of people in this city will be happy to see done, for sure.
Yeah, big time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Fleming.
Yes, I'll ask the 3 questions in one sentence. How much money from Chapter 90 is being used? What will be left, and will this affect what potholes are being filled?
So it won't affect pothole patching. That comes out of a separate line item in our budget. I know we had talked about potentially adding pothole patching into Lazaro's contract or our paving contract. And the way it shook out, we didn't end up going that route. We're using essentially all of this year's Chapter 90 and any remaining balance from previous year's Chapter 90 with all of the proposed streets that are listed here. But we're also including in Chapter 90 line painting and several equipment purchases. So some of that Chapter 90 money is being used for those purposes in addition to paving these roads that are in front of you here. There has been some free cash appropriated for Clarendon Street, so we're utilizing that. There's utility donations from water, wastewater, and Unitil that we're also utilizing. I believe donations from wastewater are around $400,000, and I want to say donations from Unitil are roughly the same. So there's a pretty decent chunk of change coming from both of those utilities.
How much are we using for free cash?
I want to say the number is around $800,000.
And how much, refresh my memory on Chapter 90, how much we received?
It's 1.1 million roughly per year, and we are carrying over a balance from prior years also.
How much was left? Approximately.
This plan has essentially, I think, $250K left just as a cushion, like an emergency fund.
Okay.
There's also roughly $1 million, 1.3 million or thereabouts, that's coming from disaster relief funding from the July 16th rainstorm from last year. And that's why you see some of these roads on this list, such as Fairbanks, Monroe, Birch. Those are all streets that were heavily impacted by those storms.
Okay, thank you. I know there's a meeting afterwards, so I won't take any more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fleming. Any more questions from committee members? I just have a couple. I think most of mine were pretty much answered by previous questions. We're talking about streetlights a little bit. What was the determination for those lights right there in Wayland and Miriam and Wayland, where Fitchburg connects with Leominster? They were malfunctioning for a significant period of time. Those were, am I correct that those were Leominster's responsibility?
Those are our responsibility. The city of Fitchburg owns those traffic lights there. There was, I believe, a break in an underground conduit there. That electric light came in and repaired. So we haven't had too many malfunctions since then. But that set of signals is aging. Probably needs to be replaced at some point in the next, I'd say, 10 years or less.
Okay.
And that's true of many of the intersections throughout the city, unfortunately.
And I know you pretty much answered questions regarding timeline and Lazaro, and we're still sort of figuring that out. I see here Electric Ave eastern to the roundabout is up, and we've had discussion in the past regarding not just the road, but making it more pedestrian friendly and bike lanes and things like that. Can you give me a rough estimate, other than calendar year, for when that's going to be paved?
I can't without getting an official schedule from Lazaro. I mean, the goal would be to get it done this fall. I mean, every street that's on this list, we've asked them if they can do it this fall. So it's entirely dependent on their crew availability. Okay. So if they come in and say we can throw, 3 or 4 crews at you guys and get all this work done, then we're ready to do it this year. So it's entirely dependent on their schedule and availability.
Well, the goal is this fall, so if we're going to accomplish sort of more things there, it just needs to get moving then. Okay, that's all I have for that. Moving on to streets.
All right, so for Streets Division, just some highlights from the past month or so. So we just started a project to fix some of the sidewalks in Stony Brook Village. That was based on a petition that the Public Works Committee approved, I believe, last summer. Streets Division recently completed a new ADA ramp at City Hall, just over in that direction over there. That'll allow us to re-implement 2 ADA spots on Main Street right over there. Earlier this year, we completed sidewalks and ADA ramps around Abolitionist Park. That was partially funded through CDBG. We've performed and continue to perform catch basin repairs citywide. We've recently started wall repairs on a failed section of retaining wall along Arnhow Farm Road. The goal there is to potentially pave Arnhow Farm Road through one of Mass DOT's paving contracts for Ashby State Road. I believe they plan on paving that road sometime next year. So that would be included as a non-participating item, and we would have to use Chapter 90 funding to actually pay for the work, but it would be through Mass DOT's paving contract. We recently started cleaning up some of the landscaping areas along River Street. The first area the guys completed was over near the practice field across from Crocker Field. Guys recently completed culvert replacements on Pearl Hill Road. Pearl Hill Road, as you know, is not in great condition and will need to be paved at some point in the very near future. The crew has undertaken berm replacements and repairs citywide. They've got another few scheduled for tomorrow. We've undertaken line painting citywide. The contractors performed 2 days of work, and they have 2 additional days of work scheduled for next week. We've been brush trimming citywide based on C-Click Fix complaints and complaints to our dispatch office over the past several months. Our struggle is always making sure that our brush cutter is up and running. The piece of equipment is very old and subject to frequent breakdowns and repairs. This year we did supplement our brush cutter with a contractor who has a mini excavator with a mulching head attachment that allowed us to catch up a little bit more quickly than we usually are able to. Guys have also worked on catch basin cleaning citywide, and that was actually performed through a contract that was bid out and paid for using some of that disaster relief funding from last year's rainstorms. The goal there being to increase catch basin capacity and thereby reduce flooding resulting from storm events. We continue to perform pothole patching citywide based on C-Click Fix reports and calls into our dispatch office and calls from Councilor Boschman. And right now, Jeff is busy working on getting quotes for equipment that will be funded through Chapter 90. This includes a mini excavator, a new backhoe, and several other trucks. We recently took delivery of a new F550, which was funded through a free cash appropriation, I believe, last year. We're also awaiting delivery of another 1-ton, and I think that's getting its final outfit with lights and paint and all that right now. And Jeff has been busy planning for some drainage work on Reed Street based on a petition that was approved here earlier this year. So those are some of the highlights. This by no means is all-encompassing, but these are some of the things that we've been working on over the past month or so, and we'll continue to work on between now and our next meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. It sounds like it's a busy summer and it's going to be a busy fall. Councilor
I
Boschman.
just want to go back to the streets. I got one question on the streets. Electric Avenue. I thought we didn't want to do Electric Avenue because we had to dig up the road for water source separation, and now we're going to pave it?
So the issue on Electric Ave in that section is the water main. So there's been no break history there, but it is old and is in need of replacement. So what happened is the Main Street water main project ended up being slightly more expensive than anticipated. So the funding for water main replacement on Electric Ave in that area and Airport Road is diverted to the Main Street project. So realistically, those 2 water mains won't be replaced for the next 5+ years, and neither of those roads can last another 5 years without paving because they've gotten so bad. So what we're doing is a mill and overlay approach. so that we can repave it and make it smooth again, but at the least expense possible. We will need to replace the water main there, like I said, within the next 10 years. But there is no break history there, so we're confident that we can mill it and pave it and not have to dig it up until we actually have the money to come in and replace the water main. When we do replace the water main, the road will be fully reconstructed and not just milled and overlaid. And that'll be a full-depth reclamation, sidewalks, and all that.
All right, okay, this is I yield the floor.
Further questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you, Commissioner. We will move on to our petitions for review. Really quick, just as some housekeeping, if I can entertain a motion for our first petition, 168-24, to strike out investigate water runoff property and just change it to install an apron and berm at 160 Stickney Road.
So many, go ahead.
No need to petition
Motion?
investigation.
Motion, okay, motion to change the
We have a
petition.
motion.
Second.
A second. Seeing no objections, the petition is amended. Commissioner Erickson.
Superintendent Hillman actually went out and investigated this today. We actually replaced a section of berm along Stickney Road in front of the adjacent property to 160 and in front of 160. So we're a little bit unclear as to why another berm is required. We did notice there was a little plow damage right adjacent to the driveway for number 160. So that could be where the water is entering private property. But it almost seems like the water is coming off of the private property and trying to flow to the street, but the new berm that was installed is keeping it on private property and causing some erosion. So Jeff would like to actually meet with the property owner. We were hoping to maybe talk to Councilor Kuchar and set up a site visit with the property owner and truly understand what he's looking for and what the issue is. The last thing we want to do is put in an apron and a berm when that's not really the issue. So we need a little more diagnosing time on that one.
Make a motion, we hold.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Seeing no objections, it is held. Thank you, Commissioner. Moving on to our next petition, 169-24, Councilor Paul Bushman on behalf of Kyle Glennie at 133 Hurd Street to install a berm that has deteriorated over the years, causing flooding onto personal property. Commissioner Erickson.
So I'm going to have Jeff take this one.
So actually, I went to the property, took a look at it. We can certainly take care of that and put a berm in there for it.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Seeing no objections, it is approved. Final agenda item, 178-24, City Councilor Bernie Schultz on behalf of Roseanne Adarozio of 84 Noon Street to install a berm to replace a previous berm located at this address many years ago. Previous berm's location washed away, creating a trench at that location. Commissioner Erickson.
Going to have Jeff weigh in on this one too.
So I took a look at the site. It looks like there was, I think Commissioner Schultz and I talked about it. It doesn't look like there was a berm placed there before. However, I can see where there's erosion on the side of the road. Based on the layout of the road, it appears the water is coming down from I think it's Albee, and coming down itself to Newton. One thing that I did notice, the nearest catch basin is actually probably about 1,000 feet away, down around the corner where the intersection of Newton Street and Lancaster is. So we can certainly put a berm in there. However, Commissioner Erickson and I were talking, we think that in the future, putting a drainage system, a substantial drainage system up Newton Street would be more of a long-term permanent fix. Because as we put the berms in, the water is still going to get deflected down the road. It's going to cause erosion and continue the issues further down the road. So that's where we stand on it so far.
Am I getting the suggestion correct that you, instead of a berm, petition should read something of catch basin or drainage?
Well, we're thinking we can put a berm in. However, I think in the future, we should look into putting some drainage actually on Newton Street itself, or extending the drainage up the road.
I see.
So we should make and
Just
amend
One
it.
second. Councilor
I
Schultz
just had
first.
a question. A berm was there, but it was previous to Google Maps and where you were looking. But is there anything temporarily we could do at that location? Because it is rather, it's, you know, looking at Hurd Street versus Newton Street, the Newton Street's got more of a trench there where somebody could really turn an ankle if they don't see it at night and walk in front of her house, the owner's house. So I was just wondering if there's anything we can do temporarily to fill that.
I think we could do the berm as the temporary measure. Long-term, I think we need to, like Jeff said, extend the drainage system up Newton Street, add a catch basin in somewhere just downhill of 84. I don't know if we need to run it all the way up there, but we definitely need to add in a catch basin or two to help capture that water. Concern is that it's going to pick up velocity if we do install a new berm and keep going and jump the curb right where the road takes the sharp end and potentially cause private property erosion further downhill. So we can install the berm for now, monitor it, see if there's any erosion issues created further downhill, and then long-term, the goal would be to install some drainage there.
When you say temporarily, how soon can a berm, I mean, we've got a list of berms to install. I mean, how soon could a berm be installed? That's why I'm asking maybe for some other temporary measure there.
Yeah.
Well, I am having crews go out tomorrow, put berm. We're working through a list. We can see what the weather turns out for the remainder of the season and see if we can get at some. If not, we can certainly take a look at trying to at least put some landscape back in there to keep the water from, having an area where somebody could get caught in it. So
So
Thank you, Jeff.
maybe backfill with gravel and
Yeah.
smooth it out at least so it's not a tripping hazard. No one's going to break their ankle when they're trying to walk along the side of the road there.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Fleming?
Oh, I was going to say, we want to just amend this to put a temporary berm, is that what we're saying? But to eventually install an apron?
I would say amend it to include both the berm installation now and then in the future install additional drainage as funding allows.
Okay. Do I have a motion to change the petition to, on behalf of Roseanne Adarizio of 84 Newton Street, to install a berm to replace previous berm and further drainage or catch basin?
I'd say
Motion to amend.
additional drainage infrastructure.
And additional drainage infrastructure. Thank you, Commissioner. I have a motion to amend.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any objections? Seeing none, it is approved. We have no held petitions for review or any other business.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn
Second.
and a second. Seeing no objections, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.